Welcome to today's session on parasitology. So today we have trypanosoma for discussion. Trypanosoma is a hemoflagellate. These hemoflagellates can be zoologically classified. The blood and the tissue flagellates can be classified as follows. They belong to phylum Sarcomastigophora, subphylum Mastigophora, class Kinetoplastidae, order Trypanosomatida, family Trypanosomatidae, which has 6 different genera, out of which Leishmania and Trypanosoma are pathogenic to humans. Trypanosoma are protozoas. These protozoa live in the blood and tissue of humans and other vertebrates, and they can also be found in the gut of insect vectors. They belong to subphylum Mastigophora, as we've just seen, and they possess one flagellum. They require 2 hosts to complete their life cycle. Coming to the morphological characteristics of hemoflagellates, the hemoflagellates or the trypanosoma, they consist of nucleus, kinetoplast, flagellum and exonym. The nucleus is round or oval and is situated in the central part of the body. Here, it has a kinetoplast. This kinetoplast consists of a deep staining body called as the parabasal body, and adjacent to this parabasal body is a dot-like structure which is called as the blepharoblast. So this parabasal body and the blepharoblast together makes the kinetoplast. The flagellum is thin hair-like structure which is originating from the blepharoblast. The portion of the flagellum which is inside the body of the parasite is called as an exonym. And from the exonym arises the free flagellum which is outside the body of the parasite. This free flagellum is present on the surface of the parasite in the form of a membrane. It is a frill-like structure, a frilly structure. This membrane is called as an undulating membrane. This is this membrane, and which extends out as a thin flagellum. When stained with Romanowsky stains, the nucleus and the flagellum acquires pink color. The cytoplasm of trypanosoma acquires blue color, and the kinetoplast is stained deep red in color. The hemoflagellates occur in various morphological forms. Okay, so trypanosoma occurs as amastigote, promastigote, epimastigote, and trypomastigote forms. All these forms are differentiated on the basis of size and shape of the cell. Coming to the amastigote form, this amastigote form is an oval form. It is 5 by 3 microns in size. It consists of a nucleus which is situated either in the center or along the side of the cell wall. It has no external flagellum. The kinetoplast is situated anterior to the nucleus and the exonym and extends up to the anterior end of the cell. Here. Next, coming to the promastigote form. This is a slender form. It is 9 by 15 microns in size. The nucleus is located centrally and the kinetoplast is towards the anterior end. The flagellum projects from the anterior end and there is no undulating membrane present. Right? Next, coming to the epimastigote forms. These epimastigote forms are a little slender and wider than the promastigote forms. These are 9 by 15 microns long. The nucleus is placed a bit posterior to the midpoint of the cell. The kinetoplast is located just anterior to the nucleus. Flagellum is present. While in motion, the flagellum pulls up a fold of protoplasm, forming an undulating membrane. The undulating membrane measures half the cell length in this form. Lastly, coming to the trichomastigote form, this is a long and slender form, about 12 by 35 microns long and 2 by 4 microns in width. The nucleus is placed almost in the center. The kinetoplast is placed at the posterior end of the cell. Flagellum is present. The undulating membrane measures about whole length of the cell. So here we have a diagram of trichomastigote form. Coming to the important species of Trypanosoma. So the clinically important species of Trypanosoma are Trypanosoma brucei and Trypanosoma cruzi. Trypanosoma brucei has subspecies. So we have Trypanosoma brucei subspecies gambiense and Trypanosoma brucei subspecies rhodesiense. The Trypanosoma brucei causes African sleeping sickness, and Trypanosoma cruzi causes a disease called as the Chagas disease in Central and South America. The diseases are restricted to the geographical areas mentioned above. This is because these species or trypanosoma requires a vector to spread the infection to humans, and these vectors are restricted to the particular geographical area, and so the disease is restricted to the particular geographical areas mentioned. Coming to Trypanosoma brucei gambiense, this causes West African trypanosomiasis. Okay, so we have Trypanosoma brucei subspecies gambiense causing a disease which is called as West African trypanosomiasis. Coming to the morphological forms of Trypanosoma brucei subspecies gambiense, so it is found in a trichomastigote form. This form is found in the vertebrates. This shows two morphological forms again. So one is the long and slender form which is present extracellularly in blood, lymph and tissue fluids. It multiplies by binary fission and it survives in the tissues of vertebrate host by changing their outer coat, which is made up of glycoprotein, and it changes this in every 8 to 10 days, and which also helps it to escape the immune responses. In the insect vector, long and slender forms multiply in the midgut. After few multiplication cycle, it converts from long and slender form to a short and stumpy form, which is a non-dividing form. In the insects, another form called as the metacyclic tripomastigotes are seen. These are short and stumpy forms. These are non-dividing and are present in the salivary glands of the insects. These forms are the infected forms to humans. Nextly, it is seen in the epimastigote forms. These epimastigote forms of Trypanosoma brucei occur in the salivary glands of the insect vector, that is the tsetse fly, and in Trypanosoma cruzi, they are found in the midgut of a reduid bug. They multiply by binary fission and they finally turn into the metacyclic tripomastigote forms, which are infective to humans. Coming to the life cycle of Trypanosoma brucei. Trypanosoma brucei subspecies gambiense and subspecies rhodesiense have a complex life cycle. They require two hosts for completion of their life cycle. They do not have a sexual mode of reproduction. They divide by binary fission. Humans and other vertebrates are the definitive host, and the insect called as the tsetse fly of Glossina species are the intermediate hosts. In Trypanosoma brucei subspecies Gambiense, humans are the only definitive host, and in Trypanosoma brucei rhodesiense, humans and wild mammals are the definitive host. The infection is transmitted by bite of vector or sometimes by congenital transmission. The infected forms for humans and other vertebrates are metacyclic trypomastigotes. They are introduced in the definitive host by bite of the intermediate host. So they are introduced in the humans by bite of a tsetse fly. The metacyclic trypomastigotes are present in this intermediate host, and they are inoculated in the humans. These metacyclic trypomastigotes convert into long and slender form which multiply locally. So when the tsetse fly bites the human, these metacyclic trypomastigotes are introduced in the humans and will locally multiply into long and slender forms. Then, after some multiplication cycles, they convert to short, stumpy, non-dividing forms called as the trypomastigote forms, and then they enter into the bloodstream where they are sucked by the flies during the blood meal. So these trypomastigote forms are present in the bloodstream of humans, and when the insect takes up a blood meal, these trypomastigote forms are taken up by these insects. In chronic infections, they reach the central nervous system. In the insects, these short and stumpy non-dividing forms reach the midgut, and then they convert to a long, slender forms, and then they start multiplying. After 2 to 3 weeks, they migrate to the salivary glands and develop into epimastigote forms, and then eventually transform into the metacyclic trypomastigote forms, which are infective to humans, and the cycle will continue. So this is a picture of the vector of Trypanosoma brucei, the Glossina species. Both the male and female Glossina species, the Glossina palpalis, these are capable of transmitting the disease to humans. These flies, they dwell on the banks of shaded streams, wooded savanna, and the agricultural areas. Coming to the pathogenesis of Trypanosoma brucei and gambiensis, Trypanosoma brucei subspecies gambiensis and Trypanosoma brucei subspecies rhodesiensis. They produce the West African and the East African sleeping sickness respectively. After 1 week of incubation period, there occurs a red tender trypanosomal chancre at the at the site of inoculation, at the site where the vector bites. This is followed by intermittent fever, chills, rash, anemia, weight loss, and headache. The trypanosomal chancre then heals, and in the meanwhile, the organism, the parasite, also invades the bloodstream, causing parasitemia. So, parasitemia increases until the specific antibodies are produced against it. The systemic trypanosomiasis without CNS involvement is referred to as stage 1 disease. So parasitemia can be or is seen in the stage 1 disease. In this stage, there is hepatosplenomegaly and lymphadenopathy, particularly in the posterior cervical region called as the Winterbottom's sign. In Trypanosoma brucei rhodesiense, myocarditis develops frequently. The antibodies destroy most of the parasites, but few of them, the mutants, will escape and will cause a new wave of parasitemia. During each wave of parasitemia, patient develops fever. Stage 1 disease is characterized by anemia, moderate leukocytosis, and thrombocytopenia. High levels of IgM antibodies are persistent findings in this stage. Coming to stage 2, which has a central nervous system involvement, this includes persistent headache, inability to concentrate, change in personality, daytime insomnolence. a person always feels very sleepy. He is or he or she is sleepy during the daytime also. Then the signs and symptoms also include seizures, tremors, and ataxia. In the final phase, progressive neurological impairment is there, which ends up in coma and death of the person. So here we have a picture of a child suffering from sleeping sickness. Here again we have a picture of sleeping sickness. Here we can see that patients feel very sleepy even during the daytime. CNS involvement of the parasite is there. Next, coming to Trypanosoma brucei subspecies rhodesiense, it causes East African trypanosomiasis. This is found in Eastern and Central Africa in places like Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, and Mozambique. The principal vectors are Glossina morsitans, Glossina palpalis, and Glossina spinotoni. It is found in the open savanna countries. Its morphology, habitat, and life cycle is similar to Trypanosoma brucei subspecies gambiense. Coming to the pathogenesis and clinical features of subspecies rhodesiense, it causes East African sleeping sickness. It is more acute with an incubation period of 4 weeks. It may end fatally within a year of onset before CNS involvement. The pathological features are similar to West African trypanosomiasis. Coming to the laboratory diagnosis of Trypanosoma brucei, so we can have microscopy done. We can have wet mounts of different specimens like the lymph node aspirates and chancre fluid or from the CSF. We look for trypanosomes in the wet mounts. These specimens, the lymph node aspirates, fluid from the chancre or CSF, can also be fixed and stained by the Romanowski stains. Then we can also have Giemsa stain performed on the peripheral blood smears. These smears are fixed and then we can have the Giemsa staining done performed on the PBS. We look for the trichomastigote forms in the PBS. If parasitemia is low, examination of concentrated blood smear is a highly sensitive method. So different concentration techniques can be used like the Buffy coat examination, differential centrifugation, membrane filtration, and ion exchange column chromatography. Apart from microscopy, culture can also be done, but culture is very difficult. It requires a special infrastructure and an expertise. So it cannot be done on routine basis, but it can be done only for research purposes. So culture can be done in media like the Weinmann's or the Tobin's medium. Then we can also have animal inoculation done. The white mice or white rat can be inoculated for the diagnosis or for the growth of Trypanosoma brucei subspecies rhodesiense. Then we can go for serodiagnosis. The antibodies can be detected, as we know that there is high level of IgM antibody detected in the serum or present in the serum. So these IgM antibodies can be detected in the serum or also in the CSF by different serological tests like the indirect heme agglutination test, the indirect immunofluorescence test, ELISA, and complement fixation test. We can also have a different test called as card agglutination trypanosomiasis test. These serological tests are useful for field use and mass screening. Then we can also detect the antigen from the serum or CSF by ELISA. We can have molecular diagnosis. The PCR methods are developed, but they are unavailable commercially. So we do have a PCR method, but commercially we don't have the kits available. Then we can have radio imaging, we can have CT scans and MRI. Then we can also have different assays for the differentiation between the human strains and the animal strains of the parasite. So we can have tests like the blood incubation infectivity test. The isoenzymes can be detected. The DNA and the RNA patterns can be analyzed for the differentiation of human and animal strains. Coming to the treatment and prophylaxis of Trypanosoma brucei. So for prophylaxis, control of tsetse fly by insecticides, traps and baits impregnated with insecticides can be done. And early diagnosis and treatment of cases should be followed to reduce the reservoir of infection. For treatment, drugs like pentamidine, suramine and melarsoprol can be used. Next, coming to Trypanosoma cruzi, which causes which causes South American trypanosomiasis or the Chagas disease. Coming to the morphological forms of Trypanosoma cruzi, it occurs as amastigote form in the muscles, nerve cells, and the reticuloendothelial system, cells of the reticuloendothelial system. Then it is seen in the tripomastigote forms, which are found in the peripheral blood of man and other mammalian hosts. And epimastigote form is found in the insect vector. Coming to the life cycle of Trypanosoma cruzi, it has a complex life cycle. It requires two hosts. Humans are the definitive hosts, whereas the reduid bugs or the tritomine bugs are the intermediate hosts. These bugs are the insect vectors. The infective form to humans are the metacyclic tripomastigotes, as we have seen in the life cycle of Trypanosoma brucei. These metacyclic tripomastigotes are deposited along with the feces of the bug near the site of bite or near the wound. Okay, so unlike in Trypanosoma brucei, which is transmitted by bite of the vector, Trypanosoma cruzi is transmitted through the feces of the vector. The vector defecates near the site of the bite of the vector. The infective forms are rubbed into the wound by host. When the vector bites, the host gets a sensation, and the host responds by scratching at the site. So this infective form are rubbed, okay, into the wound by host or transferred to the conjunctiva through contaminated fingers. These forms enter the cells of the reticuloendothelial system and spread all over the body. The metacyclic tripomastigotes then convert to amastigotes. The amastigotes pass through successive stages of promastigotes and epimastigotes, and finally they convert to tripomastigote forms. These tripomastigote forms are then released into the blood, and these are taken up by the bug during a blood meal. So these tripomastigote forms enter into the vector now, and inside the vector they are transformed into epimastigotes, and then they migrate to the midgut first and then to the hindgut. These epimastigotes finally develop or are transformed into the metacyclic tripomastigotes in the hindgut of the vector. Trypanosoma cruzi infection can also occur by blood transfusion and by congenital transmission. So once the metacyclic tripomastigotes are developed in the hindgut, through defecation, these are introduced into the host and the human host, and the life cycle will continue. Coming to the disease, Trypanosoma cruzi causes Chagas disease. So tripomastigotes or the tripomastigote forms of the genus or the parasite are introduced or induce local inflammatory reaction and swelling at the site of entry. So the Chagas disease is seen in two phases, the acute Chagas disease and the chronic Chagas disease. So acute Chagas disease occurs soon after infection, and it may last for about 1 to 4 months. This is often seen in small children under the age of 2 years. Chagoma develops on the site of inoculation, resulting in unilateral edematous swelling of the eyelids called as Romanas sign. So here we have a picture of a child having chagoma at the site of inoculation of the parasite. In few cases, there may be generalized infection with fever, lymphadenopathy, and hepatosplenomegaly. The patient may die of acute myocarditis and meningoencephalitis. The acute signs and symptoms will resolve spontaneously within 4 to 8 weeks, and the patient then enters an asymptomatic or indeterminate phase of chronic trypanosoma cruzi infection. Coming to chronic Chagas disease, the chronic form of the disease is found in adults and in older children and becomes apparent years or even decades after initial infection. This phase is characterized with inflammatory response, cellular destruction, and fibrosis of muscles and nerves that control the tone of hollow organs like heart, esophagus, colon, etc. Thus, it can lead to cardiac myopathy, megaesophagus, and megacolon. Congenital infection can also occur, so congenital transmission is possible in both the acute as well as the chronic phase of the disease, and it results into myocardial or neurological damage of the fetus. Coming to the lab diagnosis of trypanosoma cruzi, so we can have microscopy, we can have wet preparations, the microscopic examination of fresh anticoagulated blood or the buffy coat is the most simplest way to see the motile organisms, to see the motile parasites. The trypomastigode forms are seen. They are faintly visible, but their snake-like motion against the RBC make them apparent. Okay, so the trypomastigode forms, they are motile. They move in the preparations. They move in the wet modes. Trypomastigodes can also be seen in thick and thin PBS stained with gemcitabine. Serology is not useful in acute Chagas disease. Next, coming to culture, we can also culture the parasite, the NNN medium, the Novi, McNeil, and Nichols medium can be used. The medium is inoculated with blood and other specimens and incubated at 22 to 24 degrees Celsius. The fluid from the culture is then examined microscopically by the 4th day and then every week for the next 6 weeks. The epimastigodes and trypomastigode forms are found in the culture. Then we can also have animal inoculation. Guinea pig or mice is inoculated with blood, CSF, or lymph node aspirate or any other tissue material taken from the patient, and the trypomastigode form is looked for in the blood smears of the animal in a few days after successful inoculation. Okay, so we have to inoculate the specimen in the animal, and then we have to take the blood of the animal and then look for the parasites. Xenodiagnosis can also be attempted in the redoable bug. Then next, coming to serology, we can have antigen detection. The trypanosoma cruzi antigen can be detected in the urine and sera in patients with chronic Chagas disease. IgG antibodies can be detected by indirect heme agglutination, complement fixation test, ELISA, indirect immunofluorescence. Direct agglutination test is a simple test recommended for field use. This is an agglutination test. Then we can have another different test called as the Chagas radio immune precipitation assay, which is a highly sensitive and specific confirmatory method for detection of antibodies of trypanosoma cruzi. So this is a better option as a confirmatory test. But there are certain disadvantages of the antibody tests, as they may be false positive with other diseases like leishmaniasis and syphilis. Then we can have the intradermal tests. The cruzin antigen is prepared from trypanosoma cruzi culture, and this antigen is used for the intradermal test. This is a delayed type hypersensitivity test performed on patients. Then other tests includes the ECGs and endoscopies. Coming to the prophylaxis and treatment of trypanosoma cruzi. So application of insecticide can be done to control the bug. Personal protection can be used like insect repellents and mosquito nets. And there can be improvement in rural housing and environment to eliminate the breeding places of the bugs. Drugs like nifurtimox and benznidazole can be used for treatment. So with this, we finish with the discussion of trypanosomes. Thank you.